Polling deferred again in Ialibu. Allegations of foul play in Madang. McGregor Police Barracks finally votes.
Safe and fair election. I want it fair.
This is National MTV News with Mary Bartolo.
Good evening. We hope your weekend is going well. Thank you for joining us for Saturday's news. Polling in the Ialibu-Pangia electorate has been deferred for the second time. This morning, candidates contesting the seat confronted returning officer Michael Ariando, claiming 3,000 ballot papers for Kware LLG were missing. They say this must be sorted before polling commences.
The 5 candidates fronted the Ialibu-Pangia returning officer Michael Ariando this morning, questioning the whereabouts of the 3,000 ballot papers for Kware LLG. Security personnel were present to witness the confrontation as the candidates sought answers.
And let us know where Kware ballot papers are and give us a firm confirmation of where the papers are. And on our position, we are set to go for polling on Monday, provided that Kware ballot papers are here.
The events this morning has caused another delay for polling to take place today. Deputy Electoral Commissioner Simon Sinai addressed the candidates, stating the papers will be flown from Port Moresby and distributed to polling stations. He says Kware sits between 2 electorates, and this is not the only problem faced in Southern Highlands.
But these are LLG boundaries that overlap. These issues affects right across the country.
Sinai also declared polling to commence this afternoon.
For Ialibu-Pangia Southern Highlands starts today. We decided yesterday.
Following Sinai's decision, candidates and some supporters did not agree. Hundreds turned up at the Ialibu police station expressing their frustration. However, joint forces were present to calm the situation.
We're not in any way stopping the polling. We basically wanted to see that transparency is paramount to the people of Ialibu-Pangia.
A minute later, polling was deferred again for the second time as scrutineers, polling officials and security forces cross-checked ballot boxes. 115 ballot boxes were sorted out before being dispersed to polling venues tomorrow for polling. Ialibu-Pangia has 106 polling stations with an estimated voting population of 60,000. Jack Lepave Jr., National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
And in news just in, election materials including ballot papers have arrived at Pangia Station for polling to commence tomorrow. The sensitive election materials are safely stored in the District Administration Office building with tight security around its perimeter. We now join MTV's Tekla Gunga, who is in Pangia, to give us an update. Hello Tekla, good evening. Thank you for joining us. What can you tell us about this latest development?
Good evening, Mariba. There's a heavy downpour here in Pangia. And finally, the long wait is over. Final preparations for polling are being conducted at the district office here in Pangia Station.
All right, thank you, Tekla. That was Tekla in Pangia, Southern Highlands Province. Moving on, Hela Provincial Police Commander Michael Welly says delays in airlifting of polling officials, security personnel and ballot boxes into remote areas continue to be a challenge. Apart from the positive start, Welly confirmed that 9 ballot boxes were destroyed by frustrated voters over discrepancies in the common roll.
Speaking in Tari, PPC Welly says polling has progressed smoothly. In Tari Pori electorate and Como, polling progressed. However, airlifting of ballot boxes, polling officials and security personnel to remote areas has been the fallback.
Delay law, airlifting all box law, go all polling area. After some delay law yet.
As of yesterday, ballot boxes have returned and are locked at the Tari police station. According to Welly, angry voters destroyed 9 boxes, 6 in South Koroba, 2 in Ulia LLG and 1 in the Lower Wagi area of Magarima.
Now, as you can see, the boxes are coming into the police station, and so far I haven't had any problem in all the polling wards, except that I heard that there was one that was destroyed. I've yet to confirm that at South Koroba.
From authorities in town, polling faced no hiccups. However, visits to polling venues have seen discrepancies in polling procedures. In a polling booth in Tari Eben, voters choose the candidates and are marked by polling officials. Underage voting is also evident in front of security personnel and polling officials. Complaints of double voting were also raised. In the Magarima area, a lone polling officer and police struggle to contain angry voters. There are no lines as women also struggle to cast their votes. The Ella election manager John Tipper is yet to make a statement regarding this matter. Polling in remote areas continued today and might end tomorrow.
I think generally about 80% has been completed as I speak, and we are now awaiting the arrival of the ballot boxes to be brought back in.
Jacob Harvey, Junior National, MTV News, Mount Hagen.
Meanwhile, Deputy Electoral Commissioner Simon Sinai says polling for Hela is continuing in remote areas. Mr. Sinai said bad weather has been the cause of the delay, but he hopes Hela will end polling soon and go straight into counting. He said he wants Enga and Western Highlands provinces to go to the polls as scheduled. Scrutineers of one candidate in Madang have alleged foul play by polling officers who were transporting ballot papers to Belan in the North Ambenob LLG yesterday. The officers were forced to turn back to Madang Town Police Station to check the ballot papers to make sure there was no tampering. Frustrated scrutineers told MTV they were not happy with the manner in which the polling officers were transporting the ballot papers without armed security personnel.
Yesterday morning, scrutineers had to stop this vehicle carrying polling officers traveling to Belan in the North Ambenob LLG of Madang district. Scrutineers were told the security vehicle had a defect tire and had to turn back halfway to the polling station.
To play information and conflict now. So all long, he got evidence also for all play like a So this lab box, on a karimgo, no box by one.
At 11 a.m., the polling officers and scrutineers drove back to the Jomba police station. Ballot boxes and papers were taken out of the vehicle. The scrutineers demanded the polling officers to explain why the security personnel vehicle had to turn back. A police officer on board traveling with the polling team explained the escort vehicle had a flat tire and they had to turn back.
This time all right.
This car go yeah, me plus long.
Yes.
So me plus one car price for the
Yes.
Now you talk here, I say you plus.
Yes. So how old but talk namel all it? You took him. This time all right. This time deal. I'm stopping you. Stopping you.
At Jomba police station, I approached the assistant returning officer to get his comments on the incident. He refused to talk.
Yeah, say it again on camera, please.
I will not say anything. You may take your camera away. You may go away. Let's go.
Meanwhile, Assistant Election Manager Justin Pantumari, when asked to comment, said it was a small thing and it have been resolved. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Madang.
Polling in the volcanic town of Rabaul and its nearby ward areas opened to a slow start yesterday and again this morning. Many eligible voters who turned up at polling sites had no names on the electoral roll. Most of them are Sipik and Highland settlers who have lived in Rabaul for many years. They told MTV News they are not happy with how the electoral office has updated its electoral roll.
Rabaul district has attracted government's attention because it is a historical tourism destination. But in many years, the volcanic town hasn't seen much tangible development in terms of health, education and road infrastructures. This week, the residents of Rabaul town and the nearby wards came together to cast their votes in polling venues in their respective areas. Most of them are determined that the 2017 election will bring change to the face of development in this volcanic town.
We want the third generation living in Rabaul.
But not everyone was able to cast their votes because their names were not on the common roll.
Since 1994,
Albert Connie is a Sipik settler who have lived in Rabaul for more than 30 years. Told me he is not happy with the Electoral Commission for not including his name on the common roll. Many other eligible voters like Albert will not be able to vote this election.
Bolno na exercise him. This la rights law long. Vote and bolno na exercise him now.
Moreover, their hopes of changing their way of life by voting for a political leader who will attend to their basic needs now hinges on those who have their names on the common roll to make the right choices.
We must go back long. EC electoral commissioner. Komato he must try to FM duty long and he must come law upward because him deprive him planning man Mary law. All no come now exercise him. Democratic right long a custom vote law.
While these concerns are coming from ward areas in Rabaul Town, there are many other eligible voters in almost every ward in the country who will miss out in casting their votes this election, something that only happens in every 5 years. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
Now, before we go to a break, we rejoin Tekla Gunga in Pangia, where some new developments have just taken place. We'll talk to Tekla in a few minutes. We go for a break now. You're watching National MTV News. We take a look at more election stories in NCD and a progress report from the Autonomous Region of Bougainville. After these messages, stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. We rejoin Tekla Gunga, who is in Pangia, to give us an update on the preparations there towards polling. Tekla, good evening again. Ialibu-Pangia is the electorate of the Prime Minister. Obviously, there will be a lot of security on the ground. Can you tell us what is on the ground as we speak?
Yes, Mariba. There is a very tight security on the ground. There's police, CS, and defense presence. They're guarding the ballot boxes and papers which were transported in just a while ago. The boxes were brought in by about 20 to 30 vehicles. And right now, around the perimeter of the district office, there's security personnel standing around the perimeter with firearms.
And the Prime Minister is expected to vote there. Do we know when exactly he will be voting?
Yes, Mariba, the Prime Minister is expected to cast his vote in his local village. He will be doing that tomorrow in the morning.
All right. Thank you so much, Tekla. That was Tekla in Pangia, Southern Highlands Province. Moving on, voters on Fisherman Island went to the polls yesterday for the Mosby South electorate. Men, women and the old took time off their fishing rounds to exercise their democratic rights. MTV cameraman and island resident Ewana Kila filmed this story on his mobile phone yesterday.
Polling officials have praised Fisherman Island villagers for a peaceful event yesterday. Villagers, the young and old, took time out from fishing to line up in the long line and vote for a leader in the Mosby South and the NCD regional seat. Police officers were on the island to ensure that the people went to the polls and voted fairly. Police reservists and the water unit were at hand. Presiding officer Stephen Aini spoke to our cameraman on the island.
You got in two separate line where man, you got in another line, Mary got in another line. Where only come through, pass through long. Me as a presiding officer, I'm signing paper. Now you got couple of polling booth where only separate now only vote. Now I mean, look at them. You're right now. Money split up now only vote area for them.
Most areas of Port Moresby South concluded polling yesterday without major hiccups. Voters were generally happy after Tuesday's cancellation. Amidst the polling, PNG has a lot of issues outstanding. Socio-economic development and management of resources were widely debated during this election. The more informed voting population was eager to vote, but yesterday was also an interesting day. Voters found discrepancies in names on the common roll. Some places, ballot papers ran out. In others, polling started late. And in some parts, McGregor Police Barracks, polling started today. The wait is now on to find out which leaders made it into Parliament for the National Capital District electorates and the regional seat. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News.
In NCD yesterday, there was one ballot box missing at the Boraboa Primary School polling booth for Ward 10 for Mosby Northwest. Eligible voters and scrutineers stopped polling midway when it was announced that a ballot box was missing, but its ballot papers were on hand. MTV News was told later in the afternoon that the box was discovered and sent straight to the Waigani police station to be disputed.
Since 6 a.m. yesterday, eligible voters were at the school grounds ready to cast their votes, only to find that a ballot box was missing. But the ballot papers for that box was accounted for. They were advised that they could vote, but had to put the ballot papers into another ballot box. This sparked outrage by scrutineers and voters alike, and polling was put on hold.
Ballot paper am come 215. Na noga box blogem na now this a returning officer or man inside or lo ask him lo side do this box ina por karikam because designated area blogem but all no sim kam all talk bambra put him 215 ballot paper se go inside the box blo 216 ballot paper na ballot box also come on them serial number all bana behind him alphabet one him over behind him the serial number all karim go lo counting room over talk why not 215 stay inside lo 216 box. I'm not but disqualify no what a candidate I'm not but no other and me plus stop the vote. We stop middle of the voting because of that batch of ballot paper, 215 ballot paper.
At noon yesterday, the presiding officer advised that polling for the area would only be for names A to J until he received further instructions from the Electoral Commission.
You continue with what you have started this morning. 215, I have to get a clarification. Full massage. Then I'll come back to you.
The presiding officer, who advised that he would come back with an answer, never returned to the polling station. Polling continued until 6 p.m. for names A to J, while others missed the chance to vote. Voters with names from L to Z told the MTV News that this was unacceptable. Another issue raised was from long-time residents of Ward 10 who had voted in previous elections. Many said the names were not on the electoral roll for these elections. Marilyn Diaukatam, National MTV News.
Fair and transparent counting is what voters at McGregor Police Barracks want. After missing out on polling yesterday, residents told MTV News the deferral of polling must not affect the counting process. They are calling on the Electoral Commission to ensure this is not repeated in future elections.
Despite a slow start this morning, voters stand up in numbers to cast their votes. Mosby Northeast candidate Brian Combe was supposed to open polling yesterday. However, electoral officers did not turn up.
For me, being a candidate, I have already cast my vote after I consult the ARO for Mosby Northeast Ward 5 and 6, 6 miles. So I did cast my vote, which I was called upon to be the first to cast my vote, but I declare myself that I did vote yesterday because purposely I want that election to be safe and fair election. I want it fair.
Today, voters say they are happy, but the deferral has created mixed feelings. Resident Rosemary Amis said the counting process must be fair and transparent. Similar views were shared by Combe.
And I hope that we are doing here today, that we hope that it is transparent here at McGregor. So likewise that it will be for the counting.
Yes, I really support that. You know, it's just to be fair so that everybody practice their constitutional rights of voting. That's the bottom line.
McGregor falls under Ward 12 of the Mosby Northeast electorate, and today only 650 ballot papers were issued.
The population is almost 900 plus, but today we were told that we will be voting with 650 ballots, of which 640 are on the electoral roll. So 10 papers will be returned, hopefully.
Rosemary challenged the Electoral Commission, saying what transpired yesterday must never happen again.
The Electoral Commission is given enough time. 5 years is a lot of time for them to get things in order, not only for McGregor, but maybe for other places in Papua New Guinea. The same thing that was experienced here in McGregor, other places experienced the same. So when the next election comes around, this shouldn't be the case.
Stanley Over Jr., National MTV News.
More than 600 ballot boxes from all 4 seats in the National Capital District are being kept under lock and key and tight security at the Rita Flynn Indoor Complex. They were transported there last night following the close of polling in the nation's capital.
Following one-day polling conducted in NCD yesterday, More than 600 ballot boxes for all true electorates and the regional seat are being held at the Rita Flynn courts. These boxes were transported yesterday after polling concluded and are under heavy security. Officials at the site remained tight-lipped yesterday and have not released any information to the media. This morning, EMTV News was present at the site but could not get an official comment from the NCD election manager or assistant manager. Meanwhile, other places that failed to conduct polling yesterday were given a second chance today. This morning at 9:51, polling officials were seen leaving Rita Flynn courts to conduct polling at McGregor Barracks. Marilyn Diaukatam, National MTV News.
The Electoral Commission has advised that counting for all 4 seats in the National Capital District will commence on Tuesday, the 4th of July. The counting venue for Mosby South will be at the Kila Kila Secondary School. Mosby Northeast will be held at the Sir John Guy Stadium, while Mosby Northwest and the NCD regional seats counting will be held at the Rita Flynn Courts in Boroko. To the autonomous region of Bougainville now, ballot boxes are now arriving to the main centers of Buka, Buin and Arawa in the autonomous region after the completion of polling in most areas. Acting Election Manager Desmond Timiaso told MTV News that repolling is scheduled for Monday to Wednesday next week to polling stations where supplementary rolls were not used, and he anticipates polling will be completed by Wednesday next week. Meanwhile, counting for Central, North and Bougainville Regional will be conducted in Buka, except for South Bougainville, which will be conducted in Buin. Still in the autonomous region, service providers in Suir, North Bougainville, have locked up ballot boxes at the Tinputs police station in protest over unpaid dues from the 2012 national elections. They have demanded 73,000 kina be paid to them before they release the ballot boxes for teams 92 to 100 from Suir. Acting Election Manager Timiaso says the matter has been brought to the attention of the PNG Electoral Commission and he hopes to get a favorable response by Monday. He says if the ballot boxes are not released by close of business on Monday, they will not be counted. In other news, the Business Coalition of Business Council of Papua New Guinea and the Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce have now joined forces with the United Nations Development Programme in a renewed effort to achieve the UN-led Sustainable Development Goals. The partnership has been established to help local business adopt working strategies from around the world. This comes as PNG tries to redeem itself after failing to achieve the United Nations Millennium Development Goals.
Their first meeting yesterday was held under the banner #Business Coalition for SDGs. While addressing the media, United Nations Development Programme Coordinator Roy Trivedi explains why a partnership like this was essential for the nation's holistic and sustainable development.
No one institution, whether it's governments, the UN system alone can do this.
But the more businesses that involve, naturally there's going to be the opportunity to take development to areas where all businesses operate.
2 leading representatives from Indian and Philippines business communities affiliated with the coalition presented promising models in the forum. Reynaldo Lagura is the executive director for Philippine Business for Social Progress. Lagura's presentation summed up a business-to-community relationship that promotes inclusive growth for both parties.
Especially that we have a growing, what we call a demographic sweet spot, where our working population is really going to outpace the population of our elderly. And if that population is going to be undernourished, stunted in growth, lacking in skills and not complemented with the proper jobs and employment opportunities, then we're not going to see growth at all.
However, for all that to happen sustainably, data is key.
We have some challenging statistics in PNG in terms of people living below the poverty line, people having limited access to things like good sanity and water.
This is where Social Caps, a leading Indian data analytical company, comes into play. Technical consultant Anjori Pasrecha presented the dashboard, a model that allows businesses to visually map and track their social investment aligned with the SDGs.
SDGs are interconnected
And businesses, philanthropies, the government is now beginning to acknowledge this need for interconnected development.
Going forward, Trivedi says the Business Coalition for SDG Forum will meet again in August with a draft visual dashboard in place. Melissa Goviro, National MTV News.
You're with Saturday's news stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, don't go away. Welcome back to National MTV News. Turning overseas now, as PNG is into polling, our neighbour New Zealand is pushing to get people to vote in September's elections. The country's electoral commission is trying to address the decline in voter participation over the years. Political commentators are optimistic that this year could see a good turnout.
Driving to get people enrolled for September's election. More than 3 million update packs delivered around the country this week.
I think it's important for everybody to have their say.
Enrolling to vote is compulsory, but it's getting people to actually cast their vote that's the tricky part.
We had 78% voter turnout last time. Our younger people are the ones that aren't voting, and what we'd like to do is see that really ramp up this election.
A worldwide trend often put down to a lack of interest.
It's a bit stale. It's all the same sort of people in power. I think it might be because people don't feel like they're being listened to.
But some political analysts are predicting an increase in the turnout of young voters this election as Kiwis look to recent political shocks overseas.
Brexit and also the election of Donald Trump has been very sobering for young people because they realise that if they had turned out to vote in greater numbers, Donald Trump wouldn't be the president.
The Design and Democracy Project trying to boost that participation, developing On the Fence 2017, an online tool matching personal values with candidates and parties.
It takes a long time to get informed about the election. Like you have to go out and get all the information and compare it. And with On the Fence, we're just making that process a lot easier.
The past two elections have seen a growth in advance voting. The Electoral Commission expects as many as half of voters could cast theirs ahead of election day this year. So more stations are being set up to accommodate them.
It's about making it more convenient for people and making it easier for people to vote.
The first step,
when you get your enrolment update pack, check it and make sure you're enrolled and ready.
Before voting opens on Monday, September 11.
New Zealand authorities are addressing high suicide rates in youths around the country by staging plays at schools. The program is aimed at areas struggling with high suicide rates.
Bullying can, and tragically often does, push teens to suicide, and Northland wants to stop both. The Play Upstand has been commissioned by the District Health Board and has been touring secondary schools. The aim is to stop bullying and encourage teens to speak out.
Our goal for Te Tai Tukurau Ki Muri Whenua is zero youth suicide.
In one 3-month period, Northland had 6 suspected youth suicides.
We have a lot of rurality, we have a lot of poverty, we have a lot of access to drugs and alcohol.
Earlier this year, the Government Suicide Prevention Panel came under fire when its draft plan didn't set a prevention target. Health workers in the north say even one suicide is too many.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's achievable. We don't want our young people dying. We're just working towards that over the next few years.
Definitely been a few schools where young people have approached us afterwards and be like, I've experienced exactly what's just happened in the play.
The DHB's also developed a Far North Local Response Group, a school-based initiative and a suicide prevention training program for youth workers.
And as for the haters, the trolls, the snarky comments, I'm so sick of it.
I learned that if you're in a trouble like they were, that there's always someone to talk to.
A key message, it's hoped, all Northland youth will now hear.
Iraqi forces say these are the final days of ISIS in Mosul. Forces are now engaged with militants in fierce fighting across a few more blocks.
It is clear, according to our sources on the ground, that in the overnight period, Iraqi forces have managed to secure the Al-Nuri Mosque, that great symbolic place for ISIS, where Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi gave his one singular public appearance announcing the beginning of the caliphate. They appear to have moved past it and further deep into the old city of Mosul, hundreds of meters now potentially between them and the river that marks the end of ISIS territory. But there's no comfort for the thousands of civilians still caught in that area that ISIS control. We saw some of them emerging ourselves yesterday, talking of an absence of anything apart from water being shelled constantly, some injured, hobbling simply out of the rubble. The broader question, though, it is simply a matter of time, days, says the US-backed coalition and the Iraqi government, until Mosul falls entirely. The broader question is, how does Iraq deal with the lingering insurgency that ISIS will become in the months and years ahead? They're already seeing parts of it reaching into Baghdad and elsewhere. There are certain towns like Hawija that ISIS still have a substantial presence in. This isn't really over. Politically, the message may be out that they've defeated ISIS, but politically too, they have to enter into a moment of reconciliation here. Remember, the government in Baghdad is predominantly Shia. They've had a lot of Shia forces fighting against areas which are predominantly Sunni. Remember the Sunni-Shia split in Iraq. The Sunnis were in control under Saddam, now the Shia are predominantly in control. The question is, how do you get that Sunni part of the population, the extremists of whom felt more affinity, frankly, with ISIS than anybody else here? How do you get them to come together and for Iraq to heal? Well, the pace in which declarations of victory have been made suggests maybe reconciliation isn't on the top of people's agenda. We'll have to see in the months ahead, because without a broader healing here, we may see something like ISIS rear its head again.
South Korea is in talks with the United States to start dialogue with North Korea to end its nuclear program. It comes after US President Donald Trump said the US has run out of patience with North Korea.
United States and the President of the Republic of Korea.
Two very different leaders with a common problem. The presidents of South Korea and the United States discuss an ever-elusive solution on North Korea.
Together we are facing the threat of the reckless and brutal regime in North Korea. The nuclear and ballistic missile programs of that regime require a determined response.
Saying the North Korean regime has no regard for the safety of its people or its neighbors, Mr. Trump says the two leaders are working closely on a range of diplomatic, security and economic measures, but added emphatically the US will always defend itself and its allies. President Moon had a message for North Korea: do not underestimate the resolution of the two countries. He said, we urge North Korea to return as soon as possible to the negotiation table for the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And earlier, what could be described as a televised lecture for South Korea. President Trump making it clear he sees their trade deal as unfair, calling on his Commerce Secretary and Economic Advisor to spell out some of his grievances, although he says he was encouraged by President Moon's assurances.
The fact is that the United States has trade deficits with many countries, and we cannot allow that to continue. And we'll start with South Korea right now.
He uses this tactic of embarrassment, almost humiliation, with some of our best friends. And so far, it really hasn't come back to bite him yet, but I suspect that over time it will.
We can expect President Trump here in South Korea within the year. President Moon said his invitation has been accepted. Initial reactions on how South Korean media and pundits feel the summit went. Less focus on trade and more on the fact that there appeared to be a rapport between the two leaders, they say, a feeling that if they at least get on, then cooperation on North Korea will follow.
Here with Saturday's news, Trukai Sports is up next. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Training is ramping up for the National AFL men's train-on squad as selections for the final team will be based on performance, availability and attendance. With the final squad to be announced next week, executives are hoping to put together the best team possible to represent PNG. Godwin Eki reports.
Now, starting as early as 7 a.m. this morning, these players will have to put every effort they can into training. Now, from the 45-man train-on squad, only 30 will make it into the final team, where the team will be made up of Australian and PNG-based players. The train-on squad brings together the best footy players AFL PNG has to offer, who are currently training in the country as well as in Australia, most of whom have come through the AFL PNG's Talent Pathway program.
Now they're training well. The intensity is there. We're trying to keep that effort and intensity all the way to the end of July when they travel. So some of those guys have been traveling and playing together since they were 13, 14 years old, so they actually know what to do and what it takes to play at that kind of level. So yeah, the effort's there, 100%. Yeah.
Training has been their #1 priority since day one after top players were selected into the train-on squad.
Especially with new young talents coming up as well, and for the old boys as well, like they need to push out just to get the momentum with the young talents coming up as well. So yeah, it's going to be a tough selection for all of us as a team.
But as the Mosquitoes look forward to defending their 2014 International Cup title, assistant coach Walter Iengomina says preparations are going well as far as players' training is concerned.
We've got some talent in Australia already. We've got a lot of talent here, so cutting the side will be difficult. But again, it's something that the coaching staff and the management will have to do in the next few days. And certainly, it's a tough decision, but we'll need to do that.
Team captain John James Labai says after months of hard training, the boys are almost prepared for the event. Walters says with so much great talent, the players have already made it difficult for the selection panel. The final selection of the 30-man squad will be announced next week. Now, as defending champions of the 2014 International Cup title, the PNG Mosquitoes are no doubt a top contender to win back-to-back this year's International Cup title. Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
To football, Besta FC defeated Yamaros 3-2 in the first match of the NSL doubleheader at the Bissini Football Grounds in Port Moresby. In the second match, Huawei PS played Madang FC in a thrilling contest of skills that kept the crowd entertained throughout.
The opening match of the National Soccer League doubleheader went down to the wire, with both Besta FC and Yamaros putting their body on the line. Besta took the lead in the first half with 2 early goals and played their opponents out with some good passing game and smooth transition in the midfield area. The lay-based side kept the pressure on Yamaros with several attempts on goal. However, Yamaros scored their first after a relentless effort from their charges. Besta would maintain composure in the second half, grabbing their third goal of the evening, but couldn't hold on to the margin as the ever-attacking Yamaros would narrow the gap with their second. For Besta coach Harrison Kamaki, the win puts his side in good stead ahead of their next match against Madang FC on Wednesday.
I'm happy with the win, but Yamaros had to make us work for that win, especially in the second half. Yeah, and again, the bulk of the team is made up of the recent under-17 to Tahiti. We just progressing and working on, especially this under-17 for the next coming under-20 games. But yeah, they put in an effort that came up with a win.
In the other match between Huawei PS and Madang FC, Madang were able to hang on to a 1-0 win over Huawei PS after a penalty scored by Samuel Kini. Shane Saroya, National MTV Sports.
The Papua New Guinea men's athletics team came second in the 4x100 meter event at the Oceania Athletics Championships in Fiji. PNG settled for silver, while Australia crossed over first to claim the gold.
Athletes prepared for the final day of competition. The 4x100 meter event kick-started the day. The men's under-20 took to the tracks first, which was followed after by the senior men's 4x100 meter event. PNG did not field a team in the under-20 division.
Marino of the Federated States of
Solomon Island dominated, leading all throughout the race, which saw them claim gold in the under-20 division.
But the Solomon Islands Clayton Tagimana.
In the senior men's 4x100 event, it was set to be a thriller as all eyes were on PNG, Australia and Fiji. Nelson Stone started off the race for PNG, coming across the first band to hand over the baton to Nashville Limarai, who put PNG in the lead.
Brings them around. Australia on the inside lane as well.
PNG's third runner, Wesley Logoravai, kept the team in the lead before the baton was exchanged to the fourth runner, Charles Livung.
Guinea's Charles Livung as well.
The Australians tailed PNG all throughout the race before outrunning Livung in the last 70 meters.
Sun will win the silver medal, no, the bronze medal.
In the other relay events, PNG came in second to claim silver in the women's 4x400 and again in the men's 4x400 event.
And this is for the medal ceremony for the...
Elijah Levet, National MTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break with the latest in the lead-up to the McGregor-Mayweather fight, and football's Lionel Messi ties the knot.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To boxing, Ultimate Fighter Conor McGregor has posted a video of a workout to his Instagram account as he prepares for what the Las Vegas hype machine is calling the fight of the century. McGregor will take to the boxing ring on August the 26th in Las Vegas, where opponent Floyd Mayweather will put his unbeaten record on the line in a contest that is expected to bring both fighters as much as $100 million each. Mayweather, 40, retired in 2015 with an unblemished 49-0 professional boxing record, while McGregor, 28, is the UFC's lightweight champion. Some of the biggest names in world football and celebrities alike gathered in Argentina to see Barcelona striker Lionel Messi wed his longtime girlfriend Antonella Roccuzzo. Colombian pop star Shakira also arrived with her husband Gerard Piqué, who plays with Messi for Barcelona.
Soccer stars Samuel Eto'o, Charles Puyol, Xavi Hernandez and Cesc Fabregas were among the many that turned out. An extra 350 police were drafted in to provide security for the event, which took place in Rosario, the city where Messi grew up, before heading to Barcelona, where he spent a playing career that has included winning FIFA's World Player of the Year trophy 5 times. The city is in the heart of Argentina's breadbasket, but drug trafficking in the region has grown in recent years and homicide rate has soared. Messi met Roccuzzo, who is also from Rosario, when they were growing up. The couple have 2 children, Tiago 4 and Mateo 21 months. Shane Saroya, National MTV Sports.
The 2017 ICC Women's World Championships, currently underway in England, is seeing Australia leading the tournament ahead of India and followed by New Zealand. The 8-nation competition started a week ago and will end on the 23rd of this month. Defending champions Australia faced very strong opposition from West Indies and Sri Lanka, but managed to defeat them. And India managed to hold the second spot after the 35-run win over England in their opening match last Saturday. West Indies, Sri Lanka are yet to win a match. As of the 2 matches played each, all 3 have won none. Australia will face New Zealand again tomorrow. The competition is expected to go through 31 one-day internationals before its final. And that's a wrap of Trukai Sports. Up next, your weather details for Sunday. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And look at the weather forecast for Sunday in the southern region. Fine weather and windy weather in Daru. Cloudy with some showers in Port Moresby. A few showers in Kerma. Thundery showers in Alotau. Some showers expected in Popondetta. To the Momase region, thundery showers expected in Wau, some showers and storms in Leh, a few showers in Madang and Wewak, showers and thunderstorms expected in Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, a few showers in Lorengau, thundery showers in Kavieng, a shower or 2 for Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, thundery showers expected in all the major centres, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Saturday, the 1st of July, 2017. On behalf of the MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.